Today, let us understand about compiler and interpreter. Before I get into technical aspects of this compiler and interpreter, let me try to tell you one scenario. Okay, so let me see. Right. So we all know that Avengers movie was released worldwide in various different languages. Yes or no? Let's take an example of Avengers movie. Okay, so this movie is made in English. Okay, and released worldwide. But do the whole world speak English? Do the whole world speak English? The answer is absolutely no, right? So what is that the movie makers have done, right? To make the reach wider, okay? The movie was dubbed into local languages. Yes or no? Yes, sir. So Avengers Infinity War poster. Oh, man. All right. So for the people who don't know Avengers, right? I'm sorry, right? For the people who don't know Avengers, you have missed a nice movie, right? Okay. But we also had, where is, yeah, this one. Okay. I'm just giving you two flavors. Okay. I am quite sure that I can put the other languages also, but it's okay. Let us see if this works out for us. Right. Wonderful. This is what I wanted. Okay. So how does this dubbing work? Okay. Yes. Everyone knows a hint about dubbing, right? So what would happen in dubbing? Okay. So when the movie is playing in theaters, will there be someone who will be giving voiceover? When the movie is playing in theaters, will be someone sitting in your theater and giving a voiceover to no, no, right? Okay. So what will they do? Will they do before the movie is released or during the movie is released? Okay. So can we speak about this? Conversations are okay converted into local languages before the movie is played in theaters. Do you agree to this? Okay. So will there be increase in movie time? Okay, in English it is 2.5 hours because Telugu has 56 letters and English has only 26. Will the Avengers movie in Telugu in English will be 2.5 hours and in Telugu will it be 3.5 hours? No, right? So play time will be same in all languages. Yes. Is this very difficult to understand? Okay. So let me basically put the dubbing artist also, right? Movie dubbing. Okay, let us put this guy. He is looking better. Okay, right. This is our scenario 1. Okay, or case study 1. Let me put it in this way. Okay, now case study 2. Right. So I don't know whether everyone like this person or not, but Trump visited India recently, right? Yeah, and had a speech. Okay, in somewhere in Gujarat. Okay, right. So let me try to speak about that. Hopefully, this is what. Yeah, man. I like this person, man. He can speak literally anything, right? It can be, yeah, yeah, yeah. In any other name, you can. Okay, right. So you want me to use other names? So let me do one thing. Uh, Obama, is that okay? I know that a lot of people don't like this person, but so Leonard, is Obama okay with you? Right? Yeah, yeah. Okay, so right. So Obama speech in India. Yeah. So these are all, yeah. Right. Obama speech in India to local crowd. I'm not sure whether this has happened or not, but let us assume. Okay. Now, how does this work? Do all people know the English which Obama has basically spoken? No, right? Okay. So what will they do? Right? To make the speech understandable, speech reach to audience, we have a translator. Yes or no? Okay. So now, will this translator be dubbing or converting the language of what Obama is speaking into local language when Obama is delivering the speech, or before Obama has delivered the speech? Yeah, he will be doing during, right? Yeah. So translator, okay, converts during the speech. Okay, right. Now, if Obama's speech is 15 minutes, will this whole conversation finish in 15 minutes, or will it take a little bit more longer? Because Obama's speech is 15 minutes and the translator has to convert that into other language, it will also take some amount of time for the conversations to be converted, right? So this might take more time, okay, as the conversion is happening live, right? So is there any difficulty in understanding these two case studies? No, right, sir? Okay. Now, let me try to tell you why I have spoken about this one, movie dubbing. Okay. Compiler. compiler converts source code into, okay, whatever format which you are interested, so let me write it as machine language. It might not be machine language all the time, but whatever it is, okay, or intermediate language, okay, before the program is executed. This is what we call as compilation. Am I clear on this? So if you want to understand what your compiler basically does, right? Compiler does the job of movie dubbing, right? So before you try to deploy your applications to your customers, you will do the compilation, okay? And whatever has been compiled, that you will give to your customers. Am I clear on this? Just like how we give dubbing movies, okay? Now is this understood, right? Now, since compiler directly converts into the language which your machine understands, for running this, we don't need any extra software generally. So if you have written a program in C, right? So what is that we need to do, right? So if I want to run the C program on Windows, what is that I need to do? Okay, example. Okay, C program, okay, on Windows. Okay, compile C program into Windows machine language, into Windows, okay, exe, using a compiler which can compile to Windows. Am I clear on this? Now, if I want to compile a C program to Mac, then I have to use a different compiler. Yes or no? Avengers movie dubbing into Hindi, Telugu, or other languages, right? Into Mac, using a compiler which can convert into Mac. So what is the problem with compiler now? What is the problem with compiler? If your environments are more, you would need to do a lot of compilations. Am I clear on this? The C program which you have compiled for Windows might not be reusable for Mac. Guys, is this okay? Right? Simple, right? Now let us look at interpreter. So the case study 2 has something to do with interpreter, right? So compiler, okay, case study 1, it has similarities with case study 1, right? This will have similarities with case study 2, okay? So we need a translator while the speech is running. Yes or no? Forget about line by line or whatever it is, okay? Don't worry about line by line. I have not spoken about line by line. Don't bring in that, sir. So that is all textbook education. I don't like the textbook education, right? So just now we have given the Obama speech, okay? So interpreter, okay, has to be present where the application is running. Yes or no, sir? Do you agree with this, or are you finding this difficult? Okay, right? And interpreter converts, okay, the language, okay, or the source language into machine language while the application is running. Okay, sorry, while the application is running. Oh man, okay. So Do we need to have an interpreter while the application is running? Yes or no? Okay. So to make Java programs run on Windows, what is that we do? We install JDK on Windows and then run Java code. There is one more thing also that happens, but just okay. Similarly, to make Python code run on Mac, okay, we install Python on Mac and then execute Python code. So if you don't install Python, Python code will not work. But same is not the case with compilers, right? For running C program, you don't need to do because the movie has been dubbed. Okay, it is like a dubbing movie. Am I clear on this, sir? Okay. Now whether it does that line by line, whether what are the effective mechanisms that interpreter brings, yeah, we will learn about that gradually. But have you understood the difference between compiler and interpreter now? Right? Not so clear. Suvyan, I think I cannot be making it much more clearer than this, sir. So this is my bottom. I cannot go beyond this, right? So whenever we run the compiler based programs, okay. So basically what happens is, right, we need to compile the program before the application is executed by your customers. Okay. When we basically do interpreter based programs, then what we need is we need an interpreter to be installed. So for example, if you build your whole application in Python, okay, and then you want to run it on your customer's machine, if your customer machine doesn't have a Python, you cannot run Python application. Same is not the case with C, because in C the compiler is predetermined. If your customer's machine is Windows, then you will compile the program into Windows and you will install the application. Am I clear on this now? Okay, that's the reason you have to join on time, sir. Okay, so I've given these two case studies which make our life more simpler to understand compiler and interpreter. Do you agree with me on this? Good. So what is a Python? Is it an interpreter based language, right? For today, you can call it as an interpreter, but actually it is not interpreter. There is one more thing also that happens. Same like Java, right? Java is also not completely interpreter. There are both the things that happen. Okay, but we will understand what that is in our future classes. But today's intention is not whether it is not about whether Python is an interpreter or a compiler, but do we understand the difference between compiler and interpreter? Good, good, right. Now, yeah, let me take one more stuff. Okay, memory allocations and memory leaks. We will try to speak about these two topics, memory allocations and memory leaks, right? So let me take an example of RAM. Okay, so whenever we write a program will use RAM, yes or no? Program will use RAM. Is there any doubt in that? Right, good, good. So let me take a RAM icon. Okay, so if you take this RAM, okay, so the RAM's memory, if you go internally, it would look like, right, so memory in RAM. Am I clear on this, sir? So how does the RAM's memory logically look like? It would look like this. Do you agree with this? Yeah. And each of this location is basically will have something called as address. Will have something called as address, right? So whenever your programs run, what is that your programs will do? They will try to use this memory, right? So if you have 4 GB of RAM, then you will have 4 GB of this memory at locations available. Okay. If you have 8 GB of RAM, you will have 8 GB space of memory locations, right? So now let us basically do this, right? So this is RAM for you. Okay. Now let me save this. Good. Right. Okay. So when any application works, when any application is executed, it needs memory. It needs memory. And memory is provided by what? Whom? Memory is provided to programs using RAM. Okay. So the memory in RAM looks like, okay, right. Dot slash images slash python 6.png. Let me, man, sorry. Right. Let us see if yeah, good. Okay. Right. Now, each location in this memory will have address. Will have address, and assume each block is of size 1 byte. Okay. Just for our assumption, just consider that each block which you are seeing is of size 1 byte. Okay. Right. Now, your program wants to basically need a memory now. Okay. Does it need to tell how much memory it needs to this RAM? Yeah. So when applications run, okay, they request memory and the size has to be specified. Size has to be specified. To simplify this, in programming languages, okay, we have, what is that? Data types. We have data types. So what is the purpose of data types? So whenever you try to tell int a, I think you might have looked into int a. So what you are trying to tell is, I need a memory location, okay, which is of size int. Int might be 16 bits, that is 2 bytes, or 32 bit, or 4 bytes, or 64 bit, whatever it is. Okay. So, right. So data type primarily, data types primarily will tell size of memory, size required. Okay. So here I'm writing an example. So int a in C or C sharp or Java, okay, whenever we write this, what we are trying to tell is, please allocate memory for, okay, int which is 4 bytes. Okay. Similarly, whenever you tell float b, okay, you might try to tell that, okay, and call it as a. Okay. So float B, what does it mean? Please allocate memory for float, which is okay 8 bytes, and call it as B. Am I clear on this? Yeah. So the most important thing in any data type is what is the size which it will request to your memory. That's the reason why we require data types. But here there is a small challenge. Here there is a small challenge. Let me try to tell you what that challenge is. Okay, right. So in some data types, okay, it is easy to tell the size upfront. For example, okay, you tell int. Okay, so what is int? I have tell int is, I have said that int is 4 bytes. 4 bytes is how much? How many bits? 32 bits. Yes. Yes, sir. Okay, right. Okay, now 32 bit. In each bit, how many values can we have? 2 values, 0 or 1. Yes or no? A bit can carry only 2 values, 0 or 1. This is basic stuff. All of us have read about it. Okay, so there are 32 positions, and in each position you can have 32 values. So total number of possibilities is 2 power 32. Yes or no? Right? Since we start from 0, our numbering system starts from 0, I will subtract it from 1. So the range will be 0 to 2 power 32 minus 1. But there is one problem over here. Will we have only positive numbers or negative numbers also? Will we have positive numbers or negative numbers also? We might have negative numbers, right? So that's the reason what we will try to tell is we will divide it by half. So 2 power 16 to 2 power 16 minus 1. Yes or no? Is there any difficulty in this math? Okay, so I will not even calculate that. I'll go to the Google and then I'll ask straight away 2 power 16. So what is Google trying to tell? 65,536. Okay, so if you take 4 bytes, our values will be minus 65,536 to 65,535. Okay, so this is the range of values which you can fit in that positions. This is range of values which you can fit in that positions. Am I clear on this? Yeah. So if your int is 16 bits, then the numbers can be large, right? If the here I have to write minus 2 power 16. Yeah. So as your size increases, the capacity which you can your numbers will be larger. That's what I mean to say, right? I'm not trying to tell any math over here. Okay. Now, like int below. Okay, I will try to tell that whenever you want to use any numbers within 65,000 range, you can use int. Okay. Now, let's assume, okay, text or strings. Okay. So every character on your keyboard, okay, every character on your keyboard is represented by a numeric number. Yes or no? We call it as ASCII or whatever it is. We have learned that. Yeah, right. So now, okay, so let's assume, okay, each character takes 2 bytes. Am I clear on that? Each character takes 2 bytes. I have written string A equals to, okay, hello. What will be the size of it? Okay, size is 10 bytes. Do you agree to that? Size is 10 bytes. Now let me do the same thing over here. Int a equals to 10. So what is the size? Size is 4 bytes. Am I clear on this? Right? Now what I have tried to tell is, okay, let me call it as, let me, rather than using string a, so I'll try to tell that message. Okay, let me call it as index. Let us give better names. Okay, now here what I've done is I've said index equals to 1000. Now what is the size now? Size is still 4 bytes. Okay, here I have tried to tell message is equals to how are you. Is it still 10 bytes or is it increased? It has increased, right? Okay, so now if you look into size, you can do your calculation. 4 3 8 7 7 plus 4 11. Yeah, 11. So size is 11 into 2, that is 22 bytes. Okay, so in some data types, okay, memory might increase with value changes. Okay, so this is a challenge for every programming language, and every programming language deals it differently. Okay, but are we clear with this problem? Some kinds of data do not change as the data changes, but some change along with the data. Okay, so how do programming languages cope up with this problem? How do programming languages cope up with this problem? Right, so to cope up with this problem, okay, with this problem, okay, programming languages use something called as mutable data types and immutable data types. What is it? Mutable data types and immutable data types. What is mutable? Okay, mutable data types means, okay, they allow change in variable values or change in value will not impact memory allocations. Okay, here if the variable value is changed, a new memory location is created. Am I clear on this? What happens in immutable data types? So for example, in mutable data types, if you are basically doing with mutable data types, and then you have written a equals to 10, okay, and a is mutable, so you can call it as a equals to 15. Okay, let us assume that address of a is, I'll give some notation. Address of a is this. Okay, so even after this statement, the address of a will be the same. Okay, this is what happens in mutable data types. So what will mutable data types do? They will allow change in existing memory locations. Am I clear on this, sir? Okay, so this will come very prompt, and this is something which majority of the people don't understand, and they do programming mistakes, right? That's the reason even before we started programming, I've started all about this. Okay, right. And in immutable data types, if it is immutable, what happens? When you have done this, then you might get a new memory location 2 3 4 5. Am I clear on this? Okay, see, whether the data is always mutable or immutable, don't come to conclusions. Your programming language's choice. Your programming language might tell int is mutable or immutable. Okay, that changes from language to language. I'm trying to tell basically there are two kinds of data types. Okay, data types which allow you to change the value in memory locations, data types which do not allow you to change the value in memory locations. If you try to change, what happens? A new memory location is created. Am I clear on this? So let me try to show you what happens in. Okay, so let us assume that you are writing an integer. Okay, this was your address, you had 10. Okay, and now you have changed it to 15, so it will operate on the same memory location. This is what happens in mutable. Okay, so in immutable, if your value was 10 and now you are changing it to the let us assume you are changing it to 100, it might be allocated on a new memory location called as 100, and later this will be removed. Am I clear on this? That is the difference between mutable and immutable. So don't worry about the impact of this, Niti. We are not trying to tell every programming language has a design choices. We are trying to speak about them. Okay, so mutable forgets the stored values, right? Whether it is mutable or immutable, both will forget about the stored values, because once you have changed the value, that means you are trying to tell the program itself forget about the previous values. Okay, am I clear on this, sir? Okay, so if you have written a code which looks like this, are you expecting the code to remember the value? Right, you have written a equals to 10, and then you have written immediately after that a equals to 15, right? Your program itself, you are asking you to forget that 10, right? Yeah, so then why do you worry about the previous value now? Okay, so how do we identify whether the program is mutable or immutable? So don't worry about that, sir. Okay, did I speak anything about Python so far? No, right? Okay, so whenever that is a time, I will try to speak with it. Right, just try to understand the concept, sir. Just try to understand the concept. Okay, because this can be applicable to any programming language which you are going to learn. Okay, right. So data types can be mutable or immutable, right? So mutable means it will allow the changes in the same memory locations. Immutable means it will not allow the change in memory location. That means that whenever you change the value, a new memory location is created. Okay, over here, okay, there is one problem. So let us assume that I have written this code. Okay, I'm quite sure some of you might understand this code already. Okay, so let us assume that a equals to 10. Okay, and I have written while true. That means don't worry about this. This is a loop. Okay, and in the loop, okay, I am trying to tell a equals to a plus 1. Okay, and let us assume that our programming language is trying to tell that this is immutable. Okay, so now what is happening in this loop? This loop continues forever. Yes or no? Yeah, even if you don't know the programming language, it's fine if you forget about it, but for the people who know it, can you try to tell this loop will run forever? Yeah, and you are changing the value every time. So changing the value every time will basically lead to what? Requesting for a new memory location. Yes or no? Requesting for a memory location. Yes or no? Right, if your program is continuously requesting for memory location, will it not lead to hanging of it? Yeah, at some point your system might end up, or basically your system might not have any free memory. Okay, because your program is consistently asking for memory. Okay, yes or no? So these kind of problems might happen. That is where I'm trying to come from. And when memory is allocated, there should be memory that should be freed also, right? There should be memory that should be freed also. Okay, here we have to understand one important concept that comes all the time. Okay, so let me define that. That is something which I call as memory leak. Okay, so memory leak is the memory which has been given to your application. Okay, and which is not in use, which is not in use by your program and also is not released. Am I clear on the statement? So memory leak is memory that has been given to your program. Okay, but your programming is not using that memory, and that memory is still not freed by operating system. And this is basically called as memory leak. Okay, so if your program has memory leaks, that means that it is going to crash. Okay, so whether it might crash in 1 day, 1 year, 5 years, that is depends on how good your system is. Okay, or how big your memory is. But memory leak is memory given to your application which is not in use and not freed by the operating system, or not released, or free. Okay, or deallocated. You can give different stuffs to it. Okay, so once the memory is attached to your system, if the memory is not in use, it has to be released so that other people can use it. Okay, so there is no way to free it. There are ways to free it. We are defining the term, right? Okay, we will give the solutions also. See, don't jump into the things, sir. We are speaking about definitions today. I have not started any programming language. Okay, right. Are we clear about the stuff? Today I have spoken about 4 important things. Okay, what are they? The first thing which I have started with is, I have said that whenever we start basically programming, okay, we need someone to do the conversions. And we have discussed about there are 2 kinds of softwares available which can do the conversions. One is compiler, the other one is interpreter. Whatever source code which we write, okay, it can be compiled to your machine language using compiler or interpreter. Okay, so compiler is much like movie dubbing. Okay, and interpreter is much like when a president goes to other country and starts speaking, we need a translator to translate it. Okay, and then we have identified the differences. Okay, then we have came into memory allocations. To allocate the memory, I have said that we need to allocate the memory, we need an what do you call data type. What will data type try to tell? Data type will try to tell to the RAM how much memory it needs, Okay, that is the reason for data type. But in data types, there are 2 kinds of data types. Right? So data types which always can live with the same size, data types which always cannot live with the same size. Okay, remember I have used the example of text. Yeah, so in text, what happens? As you change the text, the memory demand increases. So to cope up with that, we have 2 kinds of data types on a broader note. So one thing is something which we call as mutable data types. The other one is which is immutable data types. Okay, immutable data types allow you to change the values and it will not change the location in the memory. It will work on the same memory address. And basically immutable data types means whenever you change the value, right, it automatically basically goes and creates a new memory location. Okay, right. And then we have spoken about memory leak. Memory leak is basically amount of memory that is given to your program, and your program is not using that memory, and it is also not released to the operating system. Okay, so you are holding some memory so that others are unable to use that memory, and you are also not using that memory. That kind of memory is something which we call as memory leaks, and your program should not have memory leaks. Am I clear on this, sir? Okay, right. So someone is asking me the question, does Java use follow mutable memory or immutable memory locations? Java uses both. Okay, how to pass mutable and immutable while doing programming? You will not have a choice, sir. You will not have a choice. It is not me or it is not you. It is Python or it is Java to decide whether the data type is mutable or immutable. We have to just know that. Okay, so if I am using this data type, it is mutable. If I am using this data type, it is immutable, something like that. Am I clear on this? Okay, is infinite loop a memory leak? No, sir, infinite loop is not a memory leak. It might not be a memory leak, right? So memory leak is memory given to your system which is not released. Okay, from that loop I cannot tell that the memory is not released. Am I clear on that, Srinivas Reddy? It is not that simple to just look at code and then try to tell whether it is a leak or not. Yeah, that is simple in C language. Okay, that is simple in C language to tell whether the memory is leak or not. Okay, so how many? I am quite sure that everyone in this room knows a little bit about C. Yes. Yeah. So in programming languages like C, if you want to allocate memory, you will be writing something like malloc. Yes. Okay. For the people who don't know C, don't worry about it. I am not speaking anything and you are not hearing anything. This is for the people who have asked for it. Okay. Who have asked for the trouble. Okay. Right. And now if you basically use malloc, then it is your responsibility to call free after you have used the stuff. Yes or no? In C or C++, which you have learned during your graduations, right? So now you have written malloc, but you have not written free. That is memory leak. Okay, right. So why two types? Immutable and mutable. Subyan, please try to understand the example of text and number which I have given it. Okay, you will understand by going through that. Am I clear on that, sir? Both mutable and immutable change will happen, and only change in immutable memory location will change. See, Rajendra Prasad, you are giving a wrong interpretation of it. Let me try to tell you one thing. Whether it is a mutable data type or immutable data type, a memory is allocated to you. Okay, so let us assume it is a mutable. Okay, for the people who didn't understood, please have a closer look at it. You have written something like int a equal to 10. So your memory has given, RAM has given a location, and in that you are having 10. Okay, so what is that you have done? You have said int a equal to 10, something like this. Okay, and then you got 10. Now if I say int is mutable, let us assume if I say int is mutable, and after this you have written one more line of code which says a equal to 15, then what would happen is it will go and change in the same memory location. Am I clear on this so far? Yeah, right. Now let us come back to the same story. Int a equal to 10, and this time int is immutable. Let us assume a programming language tries to tell that in my language int is immutable. Then if you try to write a equals to 15 now, then what happens is this 15 will not be changed in this memory location. A new memory location will be created and you will have a 15 over here. Am I clear on this? Yeah, right, sir. Now who decides whether the data type is mutable or immutable? Your programming language decides. So if you are using Python, Python might tell it in one fashion, Java might tell it in a different fashion, C might tell it in one fashion, right? But the only thing which we need to understand is if I am working in a programming language, I have to understand whether this data type is mutable or immutable. Am I clear on this? Okay. While writing the program, I will not tell that, okay, this is mutable int, this is immutable int. No. Okay. Your programming language will tell whether your int is mutable or immutable. Yeah. Right. Okay. In immutable case, there is a much chance of memory leak. As of now, you can tell it in this way, right? Okay. Now, these days, what has happened is, let me try to tell about the last topic of the day, which is called as, okay, garbage collector. Okay. In some programming languages or in some older programming languages, okay, when you allocate memory, it is your responsibility to free it. Am I clear on this? In older languages, in C or C++, when you allocate a memory, it is your responsibility to clear it. Okay, but okay, these days, okay, all the major programming languages, okay, come with garbage collector. Okay, so what is this garbage collector? Garbage collector's responsibility is to free the unused memory. So if you are working on latest programming languages, you need not worry about memory. This garbage collector will do the trick for you. Okay, and languages like Python, Java, .NET, they come with garbage collector. There are very corner cases where you need to worry about this. Okay, but as of today, what you can think is, if I'm working on languages like Java, Python, .NET, Ruby, okay, I need not worry about memory, because there is one program which is in my language, right, or in my compiler or in my installation, which is responsible for freeing the memory. I need not worry. Am I clear on this? Okay, right? But in older languages like C or C++, or if you go even before that, whenever you allocate a memory, it was your responsibility to clear it. Am I clear on this, sir? Look at the whole class, whatever you have spoken about today. Are we clear on all of the topics which you have spoken? Compiler, interpreter, memory allocation, memory leak, and garbage collector. Yeah, I have not said that whether what will be used in Python yet, but do we know these topics? Okay, whenever you come across these terms are not new. These terms are not new to us, right? We understand these terms, right? Can you explain about memory leak? Memory leak is memory given to your program, and your program has stopped using that memory, but it is not releasing it. That is what a memory leak is. Okay, sir. So was today's discussion understandable, easy, and interesting? Is garbage collector controls memory leaks, right? Garbage control controls free memory, right? So if your garbage collector works correctly, then you should not have memory leaks. Okay, can we say compiler is faster than interpreter? Yeah, initially. Yeah, but these days interpreters have become advanced. Yeah, right. Memory leak has nothing to do with mutable or immutable. No. Yes, Subhan, you are right. Okay, so memory leak is about memory allocation and memory freeing. Mutable or immutability has nothing to do with it. Right, sir. So what we would do in our next class is, let us start installing Python. Okay, and remember our Jarvis. Okay, so we have been speaking to Jarvis a lot, right? Okay, right. So now let us add one more character, okay, which is Python, like Jarvis. Okay, and then Python, to speak with Python, we need to learn something. We need to understand his language. Okay, so Jarvis was much more friendlier, but Python will be a little bit more stricter. Okay, so it is like speaking with your neighbor's kid who doesn't speak your language. Okay, how frequently garbage collector will free up memory? Adi, it will be ahead of this discussion, but if I have to speak about it, let me put it in this way. Your garbage collector will free up memory whenever it is in need. Okay, so if I have to go into that, I have to speak about mark and sweep algorithms. That will be a little bit, it is ahead of time. Okay, so from tomorrow onwards, we will be introducing one character called as Python. Understand this story. Jarvis was a kid who speaks the same language as what you are. Okay, but we have an intelligent kid now who is our neighbor. Okay, but this neighbor, the problem with this neighbor is we have to basically speak with him in his language. Okay, that is what we need to do. Okay, okay, sir. We'll meet again tomorrow to continue this discussion.
Thanks for watching. For more videos, subscribe our channel and click on bell icon.